What's up, y'all? It's your boy Chris Kane back again with another daily dose of Dolphin talk. You know what we do here. It's Dolphins Daily. And thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for the listenership. We're growing slowly but surely. Tell your friends, family, repost, all the good stuff. Get all that out of the way. Let's talk about the Dolphins. Now, what better place to start than Tyreek Hill? Because he's a lightning rod for everything Dolphins. And there was a Bleacher Report about a potential trade the Dolphins could explore in the offseason. Now, I don't know how much this has been vetted. I haven't heard anything from both sides. It's just a story that was out there. So let's talk about potentials. We did a Debo trade yesterday. This trade had Tyreek Hill being traded to the Baltimore Ravens for a second round pick. That's it. There was no like you give us Bateman back and they just trade Tyreek straight up. Second round pick's a pretty good haul back. Baltimore's a really good team, so it's like a bottom tier second round pick, but still they probably can't get first round compensation anymore. So the idea is one, that would be good cap wise for the Dolphins, but now you lose Tyreek, and I'm guessing you would draft the receiver late in the second, which means you're getting like wide receiver 7 or 8 probably at that point. That doesn't seem like a viable situation. Um, but let's live in this fantasy world just as a football fan, because a Dolphins fan, that's like, oh, that's brutal. But as a football fan, Tyreek, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Derrick Henry, and Action Jackson. What? That's that feels like the Miami Heat when LeBron, Wade, and Bosh was like, "We're taking our talents to South Beach. Not one, not two, not three. It was two, but they kept going for a while. But that's what it feels like. I have no idea what Baltimore salary cap is like. I don't do daily Baltimore Ravens content, but I'm sure we can look it up. I don't believe they have 30 million to spend on Tyreek. They will almost certainly have to cut someone else that's pretty good on their team. But in just this hypothetical, whatever world, this Baltimore super team, as a football fan, will be fun to watch. Although Tyreek and Zay Flowers live somewhat in the same space, you got basically grown Tyreek, younger Tyreek and Zay, giant tight ends, Lamar and Derek. Just that's more like the Warriors when they added KD. That's the best way I can describe it. When they added KD, it was like, well, weren't y'all like kind of the best team already, but you just let LeBron get you, and then you just added like the best scorer in the league, and didn't give up anything. Like, what we doing? And you saw what they did, just ran through the league, disgusting. Tough time for basketball. So this would be really bad for the AFC too, because Tyreek may have 1 or 2 more years at this level, but just that's 1 or 2 more years that another team is clearly better than the Dolphins, right? The Dolphins are better than Baltimore now. Without Tyreek, you give them our best offensive asset, and now they're like, if we're here, it gets worse, right? So that would be disastrous in terms of personnel. Salary cap, and maybe you get a good draft pick. That would be nice too. But I saw that and thought, I hope that the only thing worse than that is if he gets traded back to Kansas City, and I would just cry. I may end this channel. Like if I see Man Holmes up there holding Tyreek and Kelsey like the band is back together, I might cry. I might cry. I don't want to see him do a three-peat, but you get Tyreek on that team for next year, I think four is on the table. I just don't want to see it. Just get it out of here. I'm saying that now. If I see Tyreek get traded to Kansas City, we might just take a moratorium on episodes. I might just take a personal. Might take a personal. But that's what the trade was, Tyreek to the Ravens for a second round pick. That seems unlikely. The compensation I think is reasonable, so I can see someone giving up a second round pick. But to Baltimore, I feel like they wouldn't go. They will more likely go all in somewhere defensively. I think their offense is pretty solid already. So let's keep an eye out for that though. Like near draft time, we'll see. Next story. Let's get into a little bit of love for Zach Sieler, man. Like I think one of the things that's kind of go under the radar, and I mentioned the Dolphins defense yesterday, but individually, Zach Sieler has been a man, aka Big Z, was out here doing God's work all year. And the problem is he's in a position that doesn't get a lot of glamour, right? Chris Jones is to me clearly the best interior D lineman in the league. I don't think it's even close. I think he's an interior of his own. And then you can get into guys like Jalen Carter, you can get into Matabike, you can get into Ed Oliver. There's a lot of guys that's maybe like in tier two. Tier one to me is Chris Jones, undoubtedly. But tier two is probably 4 to 5 guys. And I think Zach Sieler is eh, eh, like he's trying to climb into that tier. And is he better than the 4 guys I mentioned? I don't believe he is. But is he worse than like that? I think he's a bubble 2-3 at his position, where he's very productive. He played 17 games last year, 15 this year. So pretty durable. He gets all the dirty work done. He's relatively cheap, and he's productive. The last 2 years, he's the only interior D lineman. The only one. Even though I mentioned 5 guys possibly better, he's the only guy that's gotten 10 sacks in both years. So, you could tell me he's not top 5, but if he's 6, then he's like, not, yo, top 5. Big Z's outside. I'm trying to come in there, right? Like, he's been more productive than Matabike's been this year. Matabike last year was better, but this year, Zach's clearly been better. Clearly. So, he's knocking on the door. We didn't, Pro Bowls, All Pros. This was tough for the Dolphins this year. But I think there's a possibility if he stays on this trajectory that a year or two from now, the world will start seeing him. Because when you're a big guy, like an O lineman, D lineman, if you're not like a Kelsey or someone like a Trent Williams, so you're just like a man amongst boys, it's very easy for you to be very good, and then people just don't like know you. But there are guys like Creed Humphrey who are great, and if you ask like most sports fans, they're like, oh, I don't know, who is that? I'm like, he's like one of the best linemen in the league. But so to be a big guy that's good on the interior is a rare position. Aaron Donald broke the mold because Aaron Donald is one of the 2 or 3 best of all time. Like him, Warren Sapp, and then fill in whatever third place person you want to put in there. So like we knew him, but he was also taking on double teams every play and still getting 20 sacks in a season, which is absurd. It's just he's a different animal altogether. But Zach has shown, one, he's a leader of the team. He was the team MVP this year, as voted on by the team. So the team knows he's great. And then he's producing at a great level. Now let's get some recognition going this way. We need some Pro Bowl votes. We need some, media attention. Maybe when we have high-profile games, we usually get 3 to 4 a year. Monday night game, let's get some people in the box talking about 92, man. He's putting in work out there. Let's shout him out. He had a great year. The defense was very good. We talked about it yesterday. But individually, he was very good. And I want to give him a little bit of love. And finally, we've been talking about backup quarterbacks, and I've been going back and forth with a few people who absolutely hated Huntley and Skylar Thompson. Not personally, just we don't want him on the team. That's fine. And so there aren't a ton of guys in the league. Like there's a couple like older castaway. I keep saying Flacco because he can just throw the ball. He can just simply stand there and throw the ball. It's a possibility like a Jameis might be out there, but I just can't deal with a Jameis roller coaster. And Jameis is a Florida. He went to Florida State. We got it. The entertainer in me would just love to come out here and talk about Jameis in the pocket doing this, eating fingers and doing a bunch of wild stuff. Like I would like to see that just as an entertainer, but as far as I need him to win games for my team, I don't feel confident about that. But someone like him could be available. Mariota, I don't believe is going to leave. And so we return to the draft, right? And there's only 3 or 4 quarterbacks people feel like are really good in this draft class, and really probably 2. Like if Quinn Ewers is your 3rd best quarterback, I think he's a really good college quarterback and not going to be a good pro. Jackson Dart, we saw anytime he plays a good team, we see what he does. But the question is, if we're in the 4th or 5th round and Dylan Gabriel is sitting there, should Miami consider him? Now, here's the reason you would do that. Dylan Gabriel is 1, left-handed. Check. 2, he's started almost 60 games, I think, so super experienced. Or he's Oregon's quarterback, for those of you who may not know who he is. They were number 1 all year until they just got blitzed by Ohio State. So no one really saw that coming because they played this year and won, and then they got blitzed the second time. But he was very good all year, finalist for the Heisman. He's also a little on the smaller side, so in terms of how the ball comes out and angles and stuff, I think it may be similar to how Tua does it. The problem is some of the same problems Tua had, though, is that he's not super athletic, although he is more athletic than Tua. He can run around a little bit. His arm is accurate, but not super strong, which sounds very much like Tua. And he's listed at 6 feet tall. Ain't no way, boy. Ain't no way he's 6 feet tall. I'm guessing he's going to be 5'10" and like a half-ish. So shorter than Tua. Arm is probably comparable. He is more athletic. But if he's a 4th or 5th round pick, he's going to be cheap, though. And what I like in my backup quarterbacks is, can you play and do you not cost me a lot? That's kind of what I look for in a good backup. Like Andy Dalton is like the perfect backup for Carolina because Andy Dalton can still go out there, get you 200 yards, a tutty, and a pick. 2 or 3 games, I can hold the water. You're paying Dalton $3 to $5 million a year, maybe. I don't know what his contract is, but I don't think it's a lot. But if you get a rookie that's a 4th or 5th round pick, you're talking less than $1 million a year, and like there's no threat to the starter. And because he's left-handed, I think that will help the receivers. You're not going from a lefty to a righty or like a short guy to a tall guy. It's something to consider. A lot of scouts think he's a day 2, day 3 guy. We'll see when the testing, like if his hands are small or if the ball starts dying past 40 yards. And like, he doesn't have a good arm. He might drop even further. It's something to consider. I think if he's on the board for the 5th round, if we don't have like a big need, like a 3rd or 4th linebacker to pick up, and we see Dylan sitting out there like, y'all, hey, look at me, baby Tua over here. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. And we can always go out and get like a better backup. So if he's like our 3rd string, I think that's fine. Maybe we can find a better backup. Who knows? But it's something to consider when draft comes around. We're looking at like Malachi Starks and other guys. We'll get into draft coverage later on. But for now, keep Dylan Gabriel in mind. Remember, you heard it here first. But that's our episode for today on Dolphins Daily. Again, this is Chris Kane. Thank y'all for watching. Y'all are blowing the channel up. I really appreciate it. Tell your friends, subscribe, all the good stuff. And we will see you guys tomorrow.